A rumor, a claim, an outright lie can go viral, impacting millions and millions of lives. So, do you ever think, why do people spread these lies? From what I can tell, sometimes it's a power move. Can I tell you a story about how misinformation impacts society? Well, on a recent flight back to the USA, man, I was sipping a nice cold soda from the can that one flight attendant, a young flight attendant, had handed me when an older flight attendant leaned over and whispered something that made my eyes widen. She said that a passenger on one of her other flights had almost died from drinking from a can contaminated on the outside with rodent waste, which is why I should use the plastic cup they gave me. Wow. Think about that for a minute, because I hesitated, and I mean, the soda was cold and I didn't want to pour it into that glass of that plastic glass of ice and dilute it further. But yet her words triggered an avalanche of thoughts. I mean, as you can imagine, I began thinking about the plague and all these diseases and what it would do. Man, my mind just raced with the worst case scenarios. And then I even had to glance up to the back of the seat to see if there was a barf bag, because I was thinking right then and there, oh my God, I don't feel too good all of a sudden. But then I stopped. I caught myself. Man, I have learned from countless mindset and performance coaches over the years that if a thought makes you feel physically ill, there's a good chance it's not rooted in truth. And that insight has guided me to pause and breathe and think rationally for the last few years anytime I hear something that I'm not too keen on knowing a whole lot about. So, what did I do? I dived into the scientific knowledge that I had gained during graduate level microbiology courses that I took, earning my degrees. And this I know. On dry surfaces, viruses and bacteria typically cannot survive very long. In fact, when things are refrigerated, that can keep them from surviving even more. And in this case, the soda had been stored in refrigeration and was probably wrapped in plastic. So environmental factors like, the vermin waste is real, but the chances of that can being contaminated were very low. And in fact, the odds of me contracting a virus from the can were even significantly lower than that. And I think I had a greater chance of catching something from a passenger spreading germs to me in the enclosed cabin, more so than contracting any disease from contamination on the outside of that can. So I did this as well, checking the facts, doing my research. There was Wi-Fi on the plane, so I looked it up, and there are no confirmed cases that exist anywhere of someone contracting a serious illness from drinking directly from a can that was contaminated on the outside. I mean, it's an urban legend. There's no documented evidence to support these lies or rumors or whatever you want to call them. So why dwell in this minor interaction with the flight attendant? Well, I think it's because it highlights a much larger truth about our society. More importantly, and I'm going to hit on this, about your leadership. The simple statement from a flight attendant could have easily led me to panicking or having more fear about what I had just done drinking from that can. And even though it was a minor moment, it mirrors what happens on a societal scale. A rumor, a claim, an outright lie can go viral, impacting millions and millions of lives. So, do you ever think, why do people spread these lies? From what I can tell, sometimes it's a power move, a subtle way to assess authority or control over somebody, kind of like the flight attendant spreading her influence or attempting to influence my decision. And other times, lies are designed to manipulate emotions or create fear or rally a group toward a particular agenda. We see this on social media and in politics and in organizational hierarchies. I mean, lies can be weaponized to sway opinion or suppress dissent or build a base of unquestioning followers. And just as I sat there analyzing the can, I couldn't help but notice her walking down the aisle and leaning over to talk to another passenger. And my mind began to ask this question, wondering what other misinformation is she sharing this time? That's the other part of it. People who spread these rumors and lies, man, they lose so much trust and respect. So here's the leadership lesson. Analytical thinking is not just a nice to have skill, it is an essential tool for leaders. Every day we are bombarded with statements and research claims and trending opinions, even social media posts. And the stakes are high. When leaders accept and spread unverified information, whether about public health policy or even organizational practices, the consequences, man, they can be significant. So consider the claims you hear in professional circles. Think about this. Someone asserts that a specific drug causes a certain condition or that a new methodology is the only way to manage a team. If leaders believe these statements blindly without checking the facts, they make decisions on basically shaky foundations. Misguided beliefs can affect budgets, can influence policies, and impact employee well-being, and even shape public opinion. So, stepping back a little bit, here are 5 strategies, 5 steps we teach the leaders that we work with in our program to improve their decision making based upon team or other co-workers' advice. So when you're getting this advice, you're getting these opinions, this is what you do. Step number 1, pause before you accept it. Before taking someone's advice or opinion as truth, just pause. Think about it for a second. The first step is just simply awareness. Notice the thought or statement that triggers an emotional response. Ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? Is this thought evidence-based, or is it designed to provoke fear or compliance? And then also ask who benefits. If I accept this statement without question, the flight attendant's comment, for example, triggered fear, but fear isn't a compass. It's a signal to pause and assess. Assess the advice. Step number 2, use your knowledge that you carry. Use your own internal library of experience and your own internal library of what you've learned through training and education, and tap into that, just like I did. I had a lot of courses on microbiology, and I just knew there was something crazy about what she was saying. So tap into that and apply what you know before reacting. Step number 3, always research before acting if you are able to do that. I know in some cases you have to make quick decisions, but most of the time you can do a little research. You can check the facts and just make sure you're certain. Take a moment. What does the research say? This doesn't have to be an exhaustive investigation, but a quick verification step can prevent unnecessary panic or poor decisions or even harm to the public. Step number 4, separate emotion from fact. Humans are wired to respond emotionally. The fear, excitement, and outrage are powerful motivators. But when leaders make decisions, emotions can be calibrated with facts. Do this. Ask, is this thought based on evidence or on the reactions it evokes? Am I being influenced by someone else's agenda? And ask, how does this align with reality as we know it, right? This mental filtering is a skill that high-performing leaders develop intentionally. And then step number 5, take informed action. Once you've paused, apply the knowledge, the research, the data, and separate emotion from fact. And now, when you do that, you're ready to act. Leaders make decisions that are informed, deliberate, and resilient, as opposed to manipulative or based on rumor. Okay? In my scenario, I took another sip of the soda, fully aware that my risk was minimal. The fear induced by the comment had no power over me because I had evaluated the situation critically. Now, why this matters even more in leadership. The soda can lesson might seem very trivial, but the implications are profound. Leaders are constantly exposed to claims and opinions and facts that may be misleading or incomplete or outright false. And blindly accepting this information can lead to poor decision making. Reacting emotionally, that can also spread more misinformation to teams and to stakeholders, to spiraling out of control. And leaders who cultivate critical thinking instead can create clarity, reduce panic, and drive better outcomes. When you think about it, every leader encounters situations like my flight can scenario. Moments where fear or misinformation can influence decisions. The difference between reacting and responding thoughtfully defines the quality of your leadership. Before you take someone's opinion or their advice as truth, remember this: pause and recognize the emotional trigger, then apply your knowledge and your expertise. And if you can, research and verify the facts, and then separate emotion from evidence. And then you're ready. You're ready to make an informed decision, a deliberate decision. So in the world of today, where rumors and opinions and misinformation can spread at lightning speed, critical thinking isn't optional. It's your leadership superpower. So with that, please do share this with a peer, a leader, or someone who can benefit from the content. And as always, please subscribe. It helps the channel out. Also, any comments, I love to read the comments. But for the most part, I want to see you again in the next video. So stay strong. Take care.